This show is brought to you by the Deluxe Edition Network. Head over to the Den.show for other great podcasts.
You monster.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Deluxe Edition, the show where we love to dig deep into classic pop culture. My name is Bill Sebald, here as always with Mr. Casey Shearer. How are you, my friend?
Good, Bill. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I got to get my voice warmed up here. I got to talk real deep. Like all those fancy old radio. Remember the radio DJs? It's like whoever had the lowest voice won the job. Like it was getting ridiculous there for a while. In Philadelphia, we had Eagle 106. You're listening now to Eagle 106. It was like you're so fucking low that nobody can even tell what the fuck you're saying. It just sounds like a low rumble in my car.
Right.
Yeah. People say to me all the time, they're like, what are you doing? I'm doing this podcast. I'm like, you got a great radio voice. I'm like, can I do a podcast then? I'm like, I'm not really sure what that means. Is radio still a thing? I don't even know.
I used to always get from my buddies, oh, that's good. You have a face for radio.
Face for radio? Yeah. Yeah. I used to get that from my parents. Womp, womp.
Poor little fella.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see you, man. Hey, real quick before we get into the show, we have a new spin-off show, On the Road with Casey. That's what we did last week. Last week we went inside the Ohio State Reformatory. I'm wearing the shirt today. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out our network, the Deluxe Edition Network. The podcast of the month this month is The Rant with Herman James. Check him out and all the other great shows. We're adding shows all the time. And Bill and I had a meeting today with someone. We're not going to say anything about it yet, but big things are happening for this network. So jump on board and make sure you follow all of these shows.
Big meeting. Can't tell you, but we were talking with, can't say. But his name starts with, Yeah, I know you're adding shows all the time because you're constantly like, hey, Bill, here's another show to add to the website. I'm like, Casey, I'm working, damn it. How many shows does the network have now?
I think we're up to about 6 or 8, something like that.
That's pretty cool. All right. Yeah. We're still the best one, everyone.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Hey, it is called the Deluxe Edition Network.
Oh, is it because we're the best, or I just assumed it was because you started it?
Well, it's our network, so.
Yeah, it's ours. That's right.
Yeah. Ours.
Best one. Our.
We're not phony.
Mine is the best. Mine.
And we're not phony.
You said ours, and I'm gonna slowly in time just like steal everything you have and just make it mine. That shirt you're wearing one day.
One day you're gonna fit into my 2X shirt.
Once upon a time when I was drinking a lot of beer, I'm pretty sure I could fit into a 4X shirt and still be hanging out of it.
Jesus Christ.
No, I was never that big, but yeah. How tall are you? We've talked about this in past episodes.
6'2".
What's a good weight for 6'2"?
I don't know what a good weight is. I'm hovering around 250.
When you walk in, does the doctor go, oofa toofa? Like, or they're like, hey man, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good. Because I was getting the oofa toofa for a while. I was like, yo, are you taking any of my advice?
I'll tell you, before we get into our show, I have a very important show here for us. I'll tell you a very quick oofa toofa story. I was once getting a massage from a very small Asian woman in Philadelphia. It was a couples massage, and at the very end of the massage, the woman who gave me the massage barely spoke any English, but she smacked my chest as hard as she could, and she's, you monster.
Oh, wow. What was it? Yeah. Say it again.
You monster.
I have to use it for the intro. Thank you for giving me a clear sample that I can use it. I didn't talk over. When you got a couples massage, what's that like? Is that 2 people doing the massage on you? Did you order a couples for both sides of your back?
No, it was with an ex-girlfriend. It's a couples massage where you're both in the same room and she's getting a massage and you're getting a massage.
I'm thinking it's like that steak for 2 for 1 deal. You're Massage for 2 for 1. Yeah. All right. Well, we're way off track. Yeah.
Right. Make sure you follow us and subscribe on YouTube so you can get all these visuals here.
That's right. We aren't just a podcast. We're also a YouTube show.
Yep.
And if you're watching on YouTube, we're not just a YouTube show. We're also a podcast. See how we do that?
All right, Bill. We've
Casey.
been breaking it down. The last few episodes that we've done have been bracket shows.
That's
right. We give the top 16. Well, the deluxe edition top 16. Whatever. This week, Deluxe Edition presents the best movie soundtracks of all time.
What a title card. Wow.
We,
You didn't even use Photoshop. You used like a highlighter and a ballpoint pen.
How's that? That's a little better, huh?
Oh, yeah, that graphic I made. Well, yeah. It's better than crayon. Yeah, I think.
I was just showing everyone the bracket that I made.
Understand.
Usually the bracket that I do is just a hand-drawn bracket. This time, I printed it up.
Yeah. We're stepping it up on this show.
Yeah. All right, should we run down the top 16? I'll run down the top 16, and then we'll go through each one individually. Give you the list
Sounds like-
first.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Judgment Night, number 1. Coming in at number 1. Pulp Fiction, number 2. Number 3, Dazed and Confused. Number 4, The Crow. Number 5, Back to the Future. Number 6, Footloose. Number 7, Top Gun. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy number 1. Number 9, the movie Singles. Number 10, That Thing You Do. Number 11, Trick or Treat. Number 12, Airheads. 13, Forrest Gump. 14, Purple Rain. 15, Dirty Dancing. And 16 is Empire Records.
All right. I just got to say to anybody listening in the podcast world, yes, he wrote each one of those names down on a different piece of paper. Yes, he did go through each one of those pieces of paper. Yes, 3 trees died for this segment.
When I got to around number 4 there, I realized I should have written the list down on one piece of paper before this. I have, look, I didn't write anything down this time. I printed this stuff out. I'm prepared today. I'm prepared. Okay.
We're growing.
You're going to have to help me with this list because there's a bunch of these movies that I was not familiar with.
And don't forget, at some point, I want to hear all the movies that only got picked once.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to find that list because I wasn't prepared to have that list. Okay.
Right, I think I can.
So once again, we're giving away some prizes. The last bracket that we did, no one won. This time, make sure you fill out the bracket. The link will be in the description. Fill out the bracket. Send me a screenshot in the comments of our Facebook group, and you'll be able to hopefully win this stuff. Once again, we still have the Elvira keychain that nobody won from last time. We have the Darcy the Mail Girl action figure from the last drive-in with Joe Bob Briggs. And then this week, Bill, since we're stepping it up and moving along, I figured we'll throw in a deluxe edition T-shirt of your choosing. So, yeah, so you can win that stuff. Make sure you fill out the bracket. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and make sure you vote. The voting will begin tomorrow morning, Tuesday, the 12th.
A deluxe edition shirt of your choosing. I didn't know we had more than one. I only own one.
Well, I meant of your choosing of size. I will order it for you and mail it to you.
Got it.
All right, so let's see. Number 1 here, Bill. Judgment Night. Are you familiar with Judgment Night, the movie?
Yeah, that's funny that was on there, and I hadn't even thought about it. Judgment Night. I'm familiar with the movie. I'm even more familiar with this album because this is like one of the first albums that had like metal and rap.
Yeah.
That was like not a thing before. And then this movie came out and this soundtrack came out. I remember it was like Faith No More and Sir Mix-a-Lot. Like it was like Onyx and, you know, somebody else heavy metal. Oh my God, it's gonna be.
I can run down. I have the list here. I can run down the there. So it was Helmet and House of Pain, Teenage Fan Club and De La Soul, Living Color and Run DMC, Biohazard and Onyx. We had Faith No More and Booyah Tribe, I think it says. Sonic Youth and Cypress Hill, Mud Honey and Sir Mix-a-Lot, Dinosaur Jr. and Del the Funky Homo Sapien, Therapy and Fatal, and then we had Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill. So
Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill? I don't remember that.
They did a song called Real Thing. And this is the first time that it was a collaboration between hip hop artists and rock artists, and it actually peaked at number 17 on the Billboard charts.
It was a good album, really good. I'm actually, now that you brought that up, absolutely going to go back and listen to it. I hope it's got to be on Spotify. Pretty much everything is on Spotify now. But I'm telling you, that was always I even know like the friends I was hanging out with, so I know that it came out in like 1992 or 93.
Yeah, it came out on September 14th, 1993. Entertainment Weekly once said, "We cannot vouch for this film, but the album is a must."
Yeah. The only thing I remember about the movie was like Emilio Estevez running around in a dark place, kind of being sneaky. And it's like, we're going to make Emilio Estevez an action hero. No, you're not. Good try, but you made some good music.
We saw a boy get murdered tonight, and if they catch us, they're going to kill us too.
A non-stop trip that leaves you breathless.
I got a wife and a little girl, and I will get back to them tonight.
I had never even heard of this movie before we put it out, put the list out for people to give their opinion on the best soundtracks. I had never heard of this movie.
That's why when you read it, I was like, whoa, Judgment Night. Like it took me a minute to go, what the fuck is Judgment Night? Oh yeah. All right. So number 2, Pulp Fiction. We've talked about Pulp Fiction numerous amounts of time on this podcast. This soundtrack actually reached number 21 on the Billboard charts. Tarantino used an eclectic assortment of songs by various artists. Notable songs include Dick Dale's now iconic rendition of Misery Lou, which is played during the opening. Come on, you can do it. Sing it. It's like that song. You hear that now. Whenever you hear that, you're like, oh, Pulp Fiction. Meanwhile, like that was a song that was out before Pulp Fiction. There's a lot of songs that people go, that's a Pulp Fiction song. No, that was a Bob Dylan song before it was a Pulp Fiction song. Right. That's how big that album got. Sorry to cut you off.
No, all good. Yeah, it actually helped launch the band Overkill, which covered Neil Diamond's "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon."
Wait a minute, I got to stop you. What was the band called? It wasn't Overkill. Overkill was like an Urge Overkill, yeah. Yeah, Overkill was like a 80s like Swedish hair metal or thrash metal, yeah, type of thing. So I was like, I know Overkill wasn't on there.
So yeah, I think it revitalized. Is that the word that I'm looking for? Like the
No, I'm gonna make you go back to the first one you wanted to try.
Reinvigorated.
We did it. You were so good there too, because you were like it revitalized. I was like, no. I'm not gonna let you walk away from that word. I'm gonna be a dick today.
It reinvigorated surf rock. Like that was pretty much a forgotten genre before Quentin added some of these songs into Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, the Dick Dale style fast guitar picking that I just did the perfect rendition of.
Yeah. These are all great. I mean, so far, I don't know the first one, but Pulp Fiction, I remember that. I remember the soundtrack to that. I remember how good the music was for that. Can you describe the difference? So the difference between a soundtrack, people were asking, are we going for score or soundtrack?
Oh, every
So-
time I hear soundtrack, I think about like the songs written for the movie.
Right.
A score, I think, is something different. Like they do put the scores out, but they don't usually call them the soundtrack.
Right.
Yeah, like you can get the Star Wars score. You know, I don't know that they call it the Star Wars soundtrack. It's a good question, but that's how I've always sort of seen it. So we just fucked up the whole game because we weren't clear.
No, we were clear. I was clear. I said soundtrack on the group.
Because I'm trying to think of the Back to the Future soundtrack, which I know has a couple Huey Lewis songs, but I'm pretty sure it's got like movie songs. Dun, 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 dun,
Sure.
dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so that's an interesting soundtrack because it wasn't common to have movie scores on the soundtrack, but somebody still picked that as their favorite. Actually, several because it made the list.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few on here like that we're going to get into, which actually is like a mixture. Maybe they just didn't have enough songs to put out onto the soundtrack that they had to add the score to make it worthwhile to put out.
Yeah, maybe.
That's my opinion. I don't know that for a fact or not.
Put it in Wikipedia. It's true enough.
Yeah. Number 3, Dazed and Confused. This was released in 1993 by the Medicine label. Mostly consists of hit songs, mostly from that era. Songs like Hurricane by Bob Dylan, Hey Baby by Ted Nugent, Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith. It had just about every genre on it. And I think, they actually came out with a second album then eventually a year later. It was called Even More Dazed and Confused.
Really? Was Forrest Gump soundtrack on there? Because I know they did that too. Everybody loved the Forrest Gump soundtrack, and they came out with a second Forrest Gump soundtrack with songs they forgot to put on the first one. So Dazed and Confused did that too?
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, Forrest Gump is on our list. Yeah, Dazed and Confused did that. Some of the songs, Tush by ZZ Top, School's Out, Alice Cooper, Lowrider, Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss, Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Yeah, another great album. Like these period piece movies like that, when they have the songs from that era in the movie, I love that. I love that shit.
I like when you watch a period piece and it's only modern songs. Of course they're going to have songs from that era in the movie. You love that. That's how they define the era in the movie. I'm a little froggy today. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
Number 4, The Crow. I wasn't familiar. I don't know if I've ever seen this movie, The Crow. The album featured a lot of covers, including 9 Inch Nails cover of Joy Division's Dead Soul. Pantera covered Poison Ideas, The Badge. The Rollins Band covered Suicide's Ghost Rider, which is about a Marvel Comics character. Are you familiar with this one, Bill?
Yeah, are you the Ghost Rider or the album? You looked puzzled about Ghost Rider. Were you unfamiliar of the character Ghost Rider?
No, I'm familiar with that, but why would
they write a song about Ghost Rider?
Why would there be a song about Ghost Rider in The Crow?
It's kind of like a loose, like, you know, was Iron Man by Black Sabbath really about Tony Stark flying around and helping the Avengers? Not really. It was kind of like, here's a character name, let's throw it in. It's happened. Like even Paul McCartney and Wings had a song about one of like Iron Man's villains, like, but it wasn't really about what's the name of that guy? Crimson Dynamo. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing. But yeah, I do remember the album. I'm shocked you haven't seen the movie. That was a big deal when that came out.
Yeah, I know.
But there was Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, this is one of the albums that came out as like the sound of everything on the radio was changing, right? So when it came out, it was like, yeah, this is all the stuff that's kind of making it right now on the album. I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. This is the kind of stuff that's really making it right now on the radio. And then here's a collection of all these killer bands. It's like getting a free song from every one of the bands that you're getting into on the radio. So it automatically sells a ton of copies because everybody wanted to see what their favorite band was now doing on the side. That's how we kind of thought of those things. Is the Wayne's World album on there? Like I remember there was a Chili Peppers song on the Wayne's World. Like I had to go find that Wayne's World album because I was a big Chili Peppers fan. So, some of these things make tons of money just because of the love that people have for the bands that are on these soundtracks.
Yeah, this actually peaked at the top of this was actually number one of the Billboard charts and sold 3.8 million copies and has been certified 3 times platinum.
Yeah. I haven't heard it since the 90s, but maybe I'll go back and listen to that too, see if it holds up.
Sure. All right, now here we're getting into what you were talking about earlier. Number 5, Back to the Future. Back to the Future, music from the motion picture soundtrack is the album to the film of the same name. It was released July 8th, 1985. It does include 2 tracks from American composer Alan Silvestri's score from the film. Also, 2 pop tracks from the band Huey Lewis and the News, 2 songs played by the fictional Marvin Berry and the Starlighters, 1 played by the fictional Marty McFly and the Starlighters, and then 2 pop songs that are very briefly heard in the background.
Yeah. I remember this now. I had this. I mean, it must have been crazy. Like, I'm listening to the Huey Lewis song, and then all of a sudden I'm listening to a movie score, and I'm driving and trying to look cool. And then, dun, 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 and then right after that, Earth Angel, Earth Angel. It's like, wow, your musical taste is eclectic, dude. You're all over the place. Huey Lewis and Earth Angel by whoever. Maybe look really cool and classy. And I said, no, I'm just a real fucking nerd who owns the Back to the Future soundtrack. But it was a good soundtrack.
Yeah, who actually played? It was played by those fictional. Was Michael J. Fox actually? Did he actually perform it?
No, he air guitared, right? He was playing along, trying to pretend to be the actual guitarist on there. No, he can't play guitar. He faked it.
Okay.
Oh, it's a great part though. When the guy comes around. I don't even. They were probably actors. It's one of those things I think where they just filmed it, recorded it, then just hired a bunch of actors to go up and pretend to play it, because it didn't look like it was, really. It looked like actors playing in a band. It didn't look like an actual band. That scene when the guy he comes running out, he calls the dude on the phone. He goes, "Hey, Chuck, it's me, Marvin Berry, your cousin. Listen to this." I mean. And then it's like, this guy jamming along, playing a Johnny B. Good, just inspired Chuck Berry to write Johnny B. Good. It's such a clever, funny movie. It's such a great movie.
Oh, that's funny. Huey Lewis actually portrays the high school band audition judge who rejects Marty, the Pinheads, their band, as they perform the short instrumental hard rock version of The Power of Love.
Yeah. Just too loud, boys. It's just too loud.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
All right, number 6, Footloose. This is a great soundtrack, right?
This one's big.
Footloose by Kenny Loggins. Someone in the group wrote for the movie soundtrack thing, anything by Kenny Loggins. Anything with Kenny Loggins.
Wow, Kenny's got like one fan out there that is just like, I can't get enough Kenny Loggins. I hope our listener and Kenny have met and talked, because he should be aware of you. Anything by Kenny Loggins, huh? Somebody really loves Kenny Loggins that much. The soundtrack, who was on? I'm trying to remember the soundtrack because
we didn't
have it.
We have Footloose by Kenny Loggins. Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams. Then we have Almost Paradise, which is just the love theme from Footloose. Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler. Dancing in the Sheets by Shalimar. I'm Free from Kenny Loggins. Somebody's Eyes, Carla Bonoff. The Girl Gets Around by Sammy Hagar. And Never just says Moving Pictures. Is that a band? Moving Pictures?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they added 4 songs for the 1998 15th anniversary collector's edition. Bang Your Head by Quiet Riot. Hurts So Good by the Coug. Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner. And Dancing in the Sheets, the extended 12-inch remix by Shalimar.
Shalimar.
I've never heard of Shalimar.
Me neither. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a wonderful night out there in Philadelphia. Please stay tuned. We're going to be listening to some Kenny Loggins. Following Kenny Loggins, we're going to get Shalimar. Coming up after this commercial break. Yeah, I do have a voice for radio.
There's no way Kenny Loggins was opening for Shalimar.
Shalimar. Who is Shalimar? Yeah, I remember. Now that you read those names, I was remembering them. I always had a knack of never getting the side 2 on a lot of these soundtracks for some reason, because they were cassette tapes I grew up with, and I would just like listen to like one side over and over, and the second side of the soundtrack or any album for me was usually the songs I don't remember. So Sammy Hagar being on that soundtrack, I have no memory of Sammy Hagar being on that soundtrack. But the others, yeah. I remember Dancing in the Sheets. I'm like, I know what that is. I get it. Yeah, this was a soundtrack that like my mom would play in the car, and I was like, I like these songs. Let me have it. I'm gonna borrow it. I go, listen, they're talking about that thing you do in the sheets.
How old were you?
I was a kid.
This came out in 1984.
Yeah, so I was.
You were still
9.
talking like that at 9?
Oh yeah, I was a late bloomer.
I like these songs.
Oh, when puberty finally hit in 2016, life was so much better.
I know what Shalimar's talking about.
Back then, I used to say Shalimar. Now I say Shalimar.
All right, moving along. Number 7, Top Gun soundtrack, released in 1986 by Columbia Records. Once again, featuring a song by Kenny Loggins, Danger Zone. Cheap Trick is on the album. Another song by Kenny Loggins, Playing with the Boys. Lead Me On, Take My Breath Away, Hot Summer Nights, Heaven in Your Eyes by Loverboy, Through the Fire, Destination Unknown, and the Top Gun anthem. So this is a lot of just the... They must not have had a ton of songs in this. Because then in the 1999 special edition, then they added 5 more songs. Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding, Memories, Great Balls of Fire, You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, and Playing with the Boys.
Oh, Playing with the Boys made it twice.
Yeah.
You know, the 3rd volume that they put out is just Jet Sounds. And a remix of Playing with the Boys.
The 1999 special edition bonus tracks, The Playing in the Boys, was the dance remix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember dancing to Playing with the Boys.
Oh, and apparently there's a 2006 deluxe edition that they also added 5 more songs to. Can't Fight This Feeling, Broken Wings, The Final Countdown, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us, and The Power of Love. So they just keep trying to make money by adding more music to this soundtrack somehow.
All of those songs are on different soundtracks. I don't know how they did that.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I mean, The Power of Love was just on the Back to the Future soundtrack. You can't take the song. You can't take Power of Love from Back to the Future and then just go reuse it on the fucking Top Gun. That makes no sense.
Why not? It's a completely different music. They're not allowed to listen to the same music in the Back to the Future world as they are in the Top Gun world. Like people listen to the same music. It's not like they're in another fucking world.
I don't know. It's not right.
Sorry, I blew up.
I just realized my voice, I sound a lot like, I can't do this. We're talking about Back to the Future. Jesus Christ, Doc, you disintegrated Einstein. Like, now I know why I sound so fucking whiny. My heroes are Marty McFly and Luke Skywalker.
So one more thing about the Top Gun. The Cars song Stranger Eyes was featured in an early teaser trailer for the film, but it was never in the movie. It was cut from the movie.
Yeah.
Little piece of trivia there.
They bought the rights and they're like, we don't know where the fuck to put it in. No, we used it in the trailer. That's good enough. Throw it on the soundtrack.
Right. All right. Number 8, Bill. We got 8 more of these to go. Guardians of the Galaxy. Featuring the songs present on Peter Quill's mixtape in the film. The album was released by Hollywood Records July 29th, 2014. And then a separate film score album composed by Tyler Bates was also released on the same date, which was just the score, the music. So this featured songs by Blue Swede, The Raspberries, Norman Greenbaum, David Bowie. Did I say something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What? Mm-hmm. Blue Swede?
Blue Swede. Yeah, Blue Swede.
It's spelled Swede.
Who wrote that?
That's not how I spell Suede.
No, that's not how you spell this band's name either.
Well, Wikipedia lied to me then.
Oh, shit. Let me go see.
Also featured songs by Elvin Bishop, Redbone. I love that song. That song by Redbone, Come and Get Your Love. Also featured Marvin Gaye, The Five Stair Steps. This also reached the #1 spot of the Billboard charts. It's the second best-selling soundtrack of all time.
Wow, really?
Yep.
I mean, it's really just a collection. It's like a greatest hits of classic rock. I wouldn't think that was one of the greatest. Anyway, you're right. Yeah. Blue Suede. I've always called him Blue Suede, but SWED. Blue Suede or Blue Swede were a Swedish rock band. Maybe, you know what? Is Swede an okay thing to say? Is that on the offensive word list now and I don't know it? Yeah, but I always thought they were pronounced Blue Suede. I don't know.
There's no way. If they're from Sweden, there's no way that they're called Blue Suede.
Man, I don't know. Blue Swede? I mean, that's like me naming my band Blue American.
Do it.
Right? Like, it's a terrible name.
Well, there is a band called America.
They're the ones that did the Ooga Chaka, Ooga Chaka.
Yep.
Yeah. That helped sell that movie when Guardians of the Galaxy came out. It's like, wow, Marvel's doing well, and they've got these characters, and everything's grounded on Earth. How are they going to do anything, in space? This could be a cosmic bust for Marvel. And then the trailer came out, and it was a James Gunn movie. I've loved James Gunn forever, even when he was a Troma. So, the trailer comes out. It's that intro scene of Peter Quill, and it's the song, and it's like, this just fits. And it gave the movie such a different curiosity. And then we went and saw it, and the whole movie was just magnificent. It's like everything worked. So James Gunn is one of them dudes that think about movies and music together. So when the album comes out, it's like these are the tones of the entire movie on the soundtrack. He did the same thing with he actually didn't release the Peacemaker album. I don't think there is one. He put a playlist up on Spotify. So maybe that's the new thing. Maybe they're going to start doing playlists as soundtracks. But yeah, I go listen to the playlist that James Gunn put together for Peacemaker, and it's just great music. He's such a good curator of music, just like Quentin Tarantino, because he picked all those songs too, as far as I understand.
Yeah. It was in my notes here for the Pulp Fiction thing. It was Quentin and his friends just basically put that album together. I
think that's killer. I mean, if you're going to direct a movie from A to Z, you got to think about the song selections. So it's almost like these directors are little DJs. They get to pick, they're radio program managers. They get to pick the music for the movie.
Yeah, as long as they can afford to pay for it to be in the movie. Yeah,
right.
All right, now this is one that I had never heard of here. Bill, number 9, Singles. Do you know about this one?
Sure. Yeah. This is, we always talk about that area where you went from childhood to teen to adult. And it was just like a couple years past me. That was one of those high school, like the tone had changed from hair metal to grunge. This is the first movie and soundtrack to capitalize on that.
Yeah, that's what it says. It's focused on the Seattle grunge scene of the early 90s. Alice in Chains, Eddie Vedder, Chris Cornell, Soundgarden. They even threw Jimi Hendrix in there. The Smashing Pumpkins. Looks like a great soundtrack.
Yeah,
I've never even heard of this movie.
Really? It was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was big in my generation. It's funny how things can be huge and then just disappear. Like, I feel like I say that to people all the time. Oh, no. That was huge when I was out. And they look at me like, it was? Well, then how come I don't remember it? Or yeah, singles was a big deal.
Yeah. I say that to my nephew, Andy. He's 14. And I'll say movies that I love, like, for instance, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like, he's never even heard of it. And it's like, what? Dude, you're missing out.
We were talking about names for offices at work, and right away I'm like, let's name an office Thunderdome. I'm like, it's the greatest name, Thunderdome. And everyone was just like, what the fuck is Thunderdome? What's wrong with this guy? Like, I was like, oh my God, if you grew up with me, you would have thought that was the best name. Can we just go with it? Just trust me. Nah, I lost.
They didn't like Thunderdome.
That's
poor
all right.
little
I'm going to
fella.
name my bathroom Thunderdome. That sounds like a good name for a bathroom. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
All right, number 10, Bill. This is one that I remember as a kid growing up. That Thing You Do. Do you remember that movie with Tom Hanks where he was like the booker of he like discovered that band, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good movie. It was nice.
Yeah, this was another one where it was like the fictional band that played the songs, that came up with the songs. And reading about it, it was actually original music written by Tom Hanks, Adam Schlesinger, Rick Elias, Scott Rogness, Mike Piccirillo, Gary Getzman, and Howard Shore. And it's the band called The Wonders. And they rise to a brief stardom on the strength of their song, That Thing You Do.
The one name you mentioned there, he was from that band Fountain of Wayne. Remember that band?
No.
Stacy's mom, she got it going on.
Okay,
that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he was, I guess he left doing rock music and started doing some kind of movie stuff. And I know he's actually responsible for the big number from that movie, which if I sing it, it'll be perfect pitch, obviously.
I know.
Everybody's noticed I'm real good. Yeah, I know we always talk about how good I am.
We've gone over this before. We cannot play any music on the songs on the podcast, or Bill cannot sing them because it's that
too perfect,
close to the original that we'll get a strike against us, and they might pull this video down. So
that's right. It's a sin. I mean, I can't sing anywhere. It's so dead on, I get fined. I was in the shower and somebody came in and slipped me a fine.
It's like that
on a piece of paper, like the old days.
You ever see that James Brown documentary? If anyone ever made a mistake in his band, he flash them. Do you ever see that?
No, but I know he would fine his band members if they fucked up.
Dude, if they
was that him
up,
fining them?
Start flashing. Every time I do this, that's $5.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah, I mean it's crazy about how they would go after some people for like use of music. And just a quick aside, I worked for a guy. He had a music store. He had a music store in Ambler, Pennsylvania, and he would play music. You go in, you listen to music, and one day, he was a little off his rocker. The guy was fucking pretty hardcore. So one day this guy comes in and he says he's from ASCAP or whatever it is that looks for these things, and they're like, you're playing music. This is for commercial purposes. Therefore, you owe the artist and the label some, money for using this to promote your sales. He fucking lost his lid. I thought he was going to punch the guy in the face, but literally a guy walked into his music store and was like, pay up. And he was legit. He was 100% legit.
How do you know it was legit?
I heard it go down. The guy wasn't, he wasn't a scammer. Like, you could tell that this guy is just sick and tired of this, having to do this job. But his job was to go in and try to squeeze a couple bucks out of people who were using it illegally, or using songs illegally. So that makes me wonder. I don't know the rules with cover bands. We met each other doing music. So when a band goes and does a cover, I think they're supposed to pay the ASCAP. But I don't think anybody does. I wouldn't even know where to send the check.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. There may be some truth in what I said. It may be total bullshit. Let's put it on Wikipedia. You just remember to put the picture. How many of the pictures have you missed so far? This is my favorite part of doing these. Yeah, have you?
So one last thing about that thing you do, for the purpose of being able to convincingly play the Wonders, the band, each one of the actors took several weeks of lessons as a group. So
Kind of like the Monkees, you know?
yeah. Yeah, the Monkees though actually then did form a band. They were then on tour, right? As a band.
Yeah, I think Peter Tork and Michael Nesmith were actually like, we want to be songwriters, and maybe Mickey Dolenz too. I don't know. I think Davey wasn't really much of one. He was just cute. So they're like, all right, these are our 4 monkeys. And then I think these guys are like, hey, we're more than just these dopey actors you hired for this skit show. Like, we actually can play these songs. We can write these songs. So I think that's how they got more involved in producing the songs. But I think their first season was just like, hey, young men, this is what you're going to play and you're going to sing this shit. Yeah, I don't know. We should do a show on the Monkees.
Sure. Absolutely. So the Wonders bassist, another quick thing on that thing you do. The Wonders bassist, played by Ethan Embry, is unnamed in the film. And in the credits of the film, it just says the bass player.
That's about right.
He didn't have a name.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played in a band with a bass player who had a name, so they're not really. I'm not even sure they exist. They're usually the bass just comes out of that corner.
All right, number 11. This is another one I was unfamiliar with. Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is the 4th album by the heavy metal band Fastway, and it was also the soundtrack for the heavy metal horror film Trick or Treat. It was released a month after the film, and it was the final Fastway album to feature Dave King on vocals. All songs were written by Fastway.
Yeah, this is a great 80s album. Oh, you remembered the picture. Yeah. Have you seen this movie?
No.
Watch this on your next flight. Watch this tonight. It is amazing. It's like, it's the perfect 80s movie. Right, the kid is this like nerdy kind of kid. I think he's the guy that played Skippy from Family Ties. Right, okay. So he's kind of got like the long hair mullet, like he was me, like the nerd who wanted to fit in and be cool, but he's just like this fucking loser kid. And there's a demon in his heavy metal music. Right, so like eventually the demon. I'm just not gonna say anymore. Like enough. I've already said enough. It's a fantastic movie. Nothing else has ever, you've never seen a demon come out of a heavy metal record before. All right. Okay. Like I have a feeling that this is what started everything in the 80s, like, heavy metal and I shouldn't say that. I can't remember that being. I'm pretty sure Kiss in the 70s started the idea that heavy metal and Satan were a thing. But no, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. And the soundtrack is really fucking good.
Okay.
All right. It's just it's really not a soundtrack. It's this band Fastways. It's their album. They're the only ones on it. It's song after song. It's just Fastway.
And do the songs go along with the storyline?
No, they're just songs. No. Yeah. I loved her so.
Easy. Whoa.
Oh, that was dead on. That was After Midnight by Fastway. Did I sing too much of it to?
Hopefully you'll be able to see this before it gets pulled from YouTube.
Damn it, man. I did it again.
One album I remember, it was by Willie Nelson. It was called The Redheaded Stranger. Have you ever heard of this?
No. I like Willie. I don't know that one.
So I don't know which one was first, but there's the album Redheaded Stranger, and then there's a movie called The Redheaded Stranger with Morgan Fairchild, Willie Nelson, and like the movie or the soundtrack, as you play it is basically the movie, like the story of the movie. Do you know what I mean?
That's cool. Yeah, you never really heard of that.
Cool. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, check that one out if you can find it. It's called Redheaded Stranger. Willie, I don't want to give it away. It's a fucking awesome movie, dude. Awesome movie. Willie does not play a character that you would think Willie Nelson would play.
Oh, really? I like that.
Yeah. All right, number 12 in our list. This is one that was big when I was a kid. The movie Airheads. Remember this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the film features an original song by White Zombie, which went on to the Billboard charts. It peaked at 157. Soundtrack, it's basically just a bunch of songs from that era, featuring Lemmy, Eddie Van Halen, White Zombie, Primus is on it, Candlebox, Stick, Joey Ramone, the Ramones. One quick tidbit about Airheads, the KPPX radio station that they filmed at, or that was at, it was located at the Fox Plaza in Los Angeles, which served as Nakatomi Plaza in the film Die Hard.
Oh, really? That's funny. I love when they have to use the same sets. I remember watching something. I'll have to try to remember what it was. I'm like, boy, that looks an awful lot like the clock tower from Back to the Future. And then it turns out it was the clock tower. Yeah, this was a big album. I'm looking at the playlist. Yeah, this is one of those albums that came out right in between. Thank you again for popping up the album cover. Yeah. Every time you do that, I look over and I go, did I just lose Casey? But yeah, what's on here? So Ice-T, Motorhead, right? White Zombie. And then all of a sudden it's like you get Primus, right? Because when Primus came out, nobody knew how they could fit in. They were on the Bill and Ted soundtrack with Tommy the Cat. And then you get like Slaughter, So it's like, they don't belong together. So this is one of them kind of albums like that. John Melendez is Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show.
Yeah, I saw that on there. What does he do on there?
He had an album out. He actually was signed and he had an album. They put out a video and it went nowhere. He's a stutterer, Stuttering John. His song was called I'm Gonna Talk My Way Out of It. So
Oh, stupid.
So that was the rise and fall of the Stuttering John band. This was, who wasn't huge when this movie came out? Adam Sandler. Like, he was just starting. This might have even been his first or second movie. Like, I'm pretty sure he didn't explode yet.
That's right.
If this isn't one of his first movies, it's still when he wasn't really that known for movies.
I forgot he was even in this.
Yeah.
Is he on the cover?
He's like the third guy. He kind of doesn't say much.
Oh my God, there he is.
And that's Steve Buscemi on the right.
Oh my God, you're right.
And that's Brendan Fraser in the middle, looking skinny.
Yeah. Wow.
They look great. Great movie. It was funny. I love that movie.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that too. Yeah.
I remember watching that a lot when it was, because it was constantly on.
Yeah, it was. That's right.
All right, moving along. We got three more. Forrest Gump. We mentioned this earlier. It's basically just a period piece from that time, the 70s. Yeah. Elvis Presley, Dwayne Edie. No, I'm sorry. It's not the 70s. It's throughout Forrest's life. It's more of just one time. It's a lot of different songs from different eras. We got Bob Dylan on there, Aretha Franklin, the Four Tops, Joan Baez, Wilson Pickett, the Rooftop Singers. This was a huge album. I remember I had this, and it's 20. I forget how many songs. I don't have the number of songs on here, but it's 2 large discs.
Yeah, I remember people really wanted to get it. I didn't. I used to listen to there was a classic rock station in Philly, so a lot of it was classic rock. So I was like, I don't see want to get this. I listen to these songs all the time on the radio. But I guess there was a nostalgic factor. Like, people were like, man, I love these songs. I haven't heard these in a while. I got to have that record. So I didn't buy it, but right. I can see why, a lot of people did.
Yeah, I had this. I remember I had this. And just a quick thing, the soundtrack jumped from number 34 to number 7 on the Billboard charts on July 30th, 1994. The next week, on August 6th, it moved from number 7 to number 3, and then it stayed there for 1 week, and it reached its peak position of number 2 on the chart August 13th, and it stayed there for 7 weeks. Until September 17th, and then it was displaced by the soundtrack The Lion King. Dropped from the charts October 15th, 1994.
Yeah. That's one of those movies that I think you could say to somebody now who's 20 years younger and say, have you seen Forrest Gump? They might say, oh, maybe I've heard of it. And it was huge. It was the biggest thing. They're going to say, bullshit. Like, they won't believe you.
Yeah.
Because people just don't remember. Oh, it dies with us, Casey. It dies with us.
I remember I read this book, the Forrest Gump book, and then there was actually a sequel, another book that I read, which with his son that moved forward, and I'm still waiting for that. I've always thought that they were going to make another one.
I didn't know there was
it hasn't ever happened.
Yeah, I don't think they should go back to that well. Some movies I think you just leave alone. Like, there was a sequel, there was a book to E.T. I remember I got it for Christmas one year and I read it and I was like, I don't want them to make this movie. Like, I'm afraid that if they make this movie, it'll kind of tarnish the first one for me.
Yeah, Forrest Gump was one of those characters, though, that like you cared about. You don't want to see what happened to Forrest in the future. What happened to Little Forrest?
It's a perfect story. Little forests usually grow into bigger forests and then get burned down. So I just want to remember the story the way it was told to me. And you don't have to touch it up anymore. It was a good self-contained movie.
All right. I'm still waiting for the second one.
I gotta just totally make a left turn because I don't know how this popped into my head. But have you watched the last Saturday Night Live with the song that the kid put out? Who's on that? He's like the kid who's like super famous right now, and he's dating Kim Kardashian. What's that guy's name?
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson. Yeah, you have to go find the video that he put out on that show because it's about bringing back the 90-minute movie. Trust me, this dude must have heard our podcast and said, "Yeah, I got to make a skit." Oh, it was so damn funny.
Is Pete Davidson a listener of Deluxe Edition?
Hey, what's up, Pete? Thanks for listening. We know you. We know you stole Casey's idea.
Goddamn right.
All right, Bill, moving on. Number 14, we got two more here. Purple Rain. This is one you're going to have to help me with. I've never seen this. I always just thought it was I thought Purple Rain was a Prince album. Am I wrong on that?
No, it is. I mean, it's kind of like the Prince must have been really inspired by Trick or Treat the movie. And he yeah, sure, Prince saw Trick or Treat. So yeah, it's really like the soundtrack for the movie, but yeah, it's as much a soundtrack as it is a Prince album.
Well, tell me about the movie. What is it? It is a movie then?
Purple Rain is a movie. Yeah, it's an 80s movie. It's an 80s movie starring Prince and Apollonia, I think. And I didn't see it because it was like a lusty movie, and I liked superheroes, and I liked Pee Wee Herman, and I liked, Fraggle Rock. So it was too over my head. I was just not into that kind of thing. So I never actually saw the movie. But the album, it came out, and it was like, it blew everybody away. That song, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy. That was, there was a couple years of, you couldn't get away from those songs. It was a huge, huge album. And he plays guitar. He's always played guitar, Prince, on his albums. He's a little bit like a Frank Zappa. He's kind of a musical genius. He can layer all his own, he can create his own music in the studio. He can do a lot of things. And all of a sudden on Purple Rain, he's shredding with guitar solos. And people are like, these are sick. The fucker really can play guitar. So there's some, when you hear that guitar solo in Purple Rain, it's one of the greatest guitar solos, and it's Prince. Yeah, that guy's super talented.
We talked about this on our censorship episode. This is the album. This is why Frank Zappa went to bat for when Frank went to Congress and spoke in front of Congress. It was from a song from this album. It was Darling Nikki, right? It raised complaints from Tipper Gore and the Parents Music Resource Center and contributed to the implementation of the parental advisory stickers and imprints on album covers.
Okay. I knew it was a Prince song. I didn't think it was one from this album, but
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And so this album spent 24 consecutive weeks atop the Billboard 200 and was present on the chart for a total of 122 weeks. And it was his first album to reach the charts.
That's a shame because you can go back and listen to the first Prince albums before that, and every one of them is great. But yeah, you can't deny that was a huge moment in the 80s. I mean, that's what blew Prince up. Once that came out, He never lost his star. Like, he's one of them guys that people, even when he died, everyone's like, we love Prince. I'm like, there's a whole like set of decades where not a single song has been put on the radio. And I didn't like any of those songs. And I'm like, what happened to Prince? But like, his star never dulls. Now that he's gone, like, people love him more.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you have that much success, when you have that many monster hits, you can have a couple of years, you can have a couple of decades off and people will still think you're amazing.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Think about the Grateful Dead, dude. Just for instance, the Grateful Dead. They haven't put out any new music as a band since Jerry Garcia's death in 1995. They are still, to this day, one of the highest grossing musical acts that's touring. Not the Dead themselves. It's a reconfiguration of the band. It's John Mayer, you know, and a lot of course, John Mayer fans are coming to see him. But they're playing the same music that they've played forever and still making a fucking killing.
Yeah, they're a real special story. I know we're going off on a tangent here, but I often wonder about, like, if Jimi Hendrix didn't die, if John Lennon didn't die, 2022, would they still be like, damn it, nobody's buying my albums? Like, what if they started putting out clunkers in the 80s and the 90s and all of a sudden they were irrelevant? Would that have erased some of, you know, the memories we have of their heyday? Would they still be who they are if they kind of burned out? Or it's better to burn out than to fade away? No, like, fading away would be what I guess they'd be doing if they just like, God damn, we keep trying to have another hit and they have dud after dud. Like, people forget you were ever awesome.
Right. Yeah, but I don't think that's true though, because there are so many bands like that people do still remember. You know, some of them are still touring and that are still out there, but you know, like for instance, Neil Young, he just had a fucking huge controversy, you know, over the Spotify thing. He's not coming out with a ton of new music. He's had some hits here and there, you know, some albums within the last couple of years with our friends Lucas and Corey, you know, from Promise of the Real. But, you know, people are still listening to his old stuff and he's still relevant because of his old music. They're not like, when you go to a Neil Young concert, you don't want to hear the new stuff. You want to hear the old hits.
Paul McCartney's still putting out new music. Like, I have to think somebody's buying it.
Yeah, name one of those songs.
I can't.
Right. All right. Let's get. We're running over time here. Number 15, Dirty Dancing. This is another one of those where it was not on my radar at all. I was a kid at this time, and it was, you know, the racy. I was 7 when this came out, and it was like you said about the Purple Rain movie. You know, I was watching wrestling when I was 7, not Dirty Dancing. You know,
Yeah.
This was another one where they came out with more Dirty Dancing the year after, which they added a bunch of songs to. And then in 2017, due to the strong resurgence in vinyl sales, they came out with the 30th edition on vinyl. Then they added even more songs to. So, what do you know about Dirty Dancing?
Well, I know they made a shit ton of money because they squeezed enough blood out of that stone, didn't they? It was another one of them huge albums. It's starting to paint a picture in my head. You're naming these things and I'm remembering, right? Because I had a cassette player, right? Cassettes were what we had in our generation. There were a couple 4-tracks laying around that I know my dad owned, but when cassettes came in, my mom started to collect a couple cassettes. I would steal those cassettes. So my cassette collection at about this time was Footloose, the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, Dirty Dancing, Flashdance, and the one cassette tape I owned, Weird Al in 3D. So those 5 albums, like, constantly on rotation. I don't think I ever saw Flashdance. I'm pretty sure I've only seen Footloose once. But yeah, those were the albums I grew up on for a few years in the 80s.
All because of your mom.
Yeah, just because those were the ones. And, you know, eventually I remember my second tape was Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. Right? Then I started to work my way away from my mom's tapes into my own collection of tapes. She must have signed up for one of them Columbia House, like, get 50 tapes for a penny. Yeah, because there are all sorts of things. I remember looking at like Glass Tiger. What is Survivor? Like some of these bands. I don't know. They're a little too old for me. I remembered it all. Steve Miller, she had. Electric Light Orchestra. Yeah, so I actually did get into a bunch of, cool music early because there were just cassette tapes laying around my house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me just run down the original edition of Dirty Dancing 1987. I've Had the Time of My Life. Be My Baby. She's Like the Wind. Hungry Eyes. Stay. Yes. You Don't Own Me by the Blow Monkeys. Hey Baby. Overload, Love is Strange, Where Are You Tonight, and In the Still of the Night by the Five Satins.
Yeah, like the first few songs, I was like, yeah, I remember them. And then you started to go to the second side of the cassette tape, and I went, nope, don't know those.
It's amazing how many more songs that they pulled out of that movie then to keep adding to the soundtrack that they could just keep making money on. All right, last one, Bill.
You know what it was, man? It's got to be like, remember that scene when Baby was in the toilet? What was playing behind her? Oh yeah, wasn't that like they must really like? Oh, we got to listen real deep. What was that? Did somebody just whistle something walking by? Yeah. I think it was a Four Top song. Put it on the soundtrack.
This is another one that slid past me that I don't think I've ever seen. Empire Records is our final movie for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Do you know about?
No. That same with me. It was like Empire Records. I was at college. I was kind of away from reality for a while. Yeah, Empire Records isn't one I ever got into. I know it's Steven Tyler's daughter, Liv Tyler's in it. I know people like it. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it does have a huge cult following. There's a quote here from 2010. Gin Blossom's frontman Robin Wilson said, "It's a classic film that it seems like only a handful of people really saw, but it definitely made an impact on that generation, and it was cool to have been a part of that." So the soundtrack featured the Gin Blossoms, the Cranberries, Edwyn Collins, the Martinis, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Better Than Ezra, the Ape Hangers, Cracker, Drill, Please, Evan Dando, Coyote Shivers, and The Cruel Sea.
This is that time of music where everybody was named like one word, like Sponge, Fuel. Like, I mean, yeah. Oh, I hated this.
This was let's see when this came out. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think you're gonna say. I'm going to look it up. I feel like it was 1996. So I've always said there was a period where music really stopped being interesting and fun for me. It was right around this time. Yeah. So September 1995. Yeah. It's like right as grunge was like, okay, we only lasted a couple of years. Then it was Gin Blossoms, Right. Hey, jealousy. And all these songs started to come in. Oh, I hated this is where it all changed for me. I stopped listening to the radio at about this time.
Yeah, I remember my cousins being so into Green Day, and like that. Yeah. It was just like, I don't remember like what type of music that I was into as a kid, but it wasn't that. No.
Yeah, that was. I'm with you. It's like all of a sudden Green Day was huge. I'm like, it's not my style anymore.
Yeah.
By then I was already going down rabbit holes and listening to records that nobody's ever heard of. So the radio was bye.
I probably had like the WWF soundtrack at that time or something like that.
With like Rick Derringer songs on it.
He's what was the Hogan song? I am an American. Oh fuck, I can't think of it.
Yeah, you're close.
I'm a real American.
Yeah, you got it.
Fight for the rights of every man.
Perfect pitch. There's that copy.
No, see, I can
for once it wasn't.
I can sing all I want because I'm not good. So
the algorithm will never be able to tell that you're singing. That's okay. I got it.
All right, Bill. So we come to a conclusion here. I'm going to have you fill out your bracket. Last time it didn't work out. Not one person matched your bracket. That's why we still have the prizes. Once again, if you would like to win an Elvira keychain, a Darcy the Mail Girl action figure from the last drive-in with Joe Bob Briggs,
who, by the way, I met yesterday, everybody.
Yeah,
I walked up to Joe Bob and you want to talk about? I walked up to Joe Bob and I walked up to I just got shy and I was just like, yeah, they were at a conference in New Jersey in Atlantic City and I walk up and she looks beautiful and I'm like, oh hi, and I said, hey, thank you for the love you've given our show, and I mentioned your name and she lit up. She knew who you were and I was like, that was about all I could get out. And then I literally said to her, I am so awkward. I said, I'm awkward as shit, so I'm going to walk away. I was so embarrassed. And she was so sweet. She was like, oh, we're all awkward. Don't worry about it. I'm like, it's too late. I'm gone. I'm humiliated. Joe Bob didn't say a word. He was just like, here comes another idiot.
Ruined our chances.
Yeah.
All right. And so those things, and then you can also win a t-shirt. So 3 things: the t-shirt, your size, Elvira keychain, and a Darcy the Mail Girl action figure. Go to our Facebook group. I have the link posted there for the bracket. Fill out your bracket. Post a screenshot of the bracket in the comment section, and then voting will begin this week. And then whoever wins we'll announce next week on the show. So, Bill, real quick, we'll run through this. We'll go through your bracket for your chance to win. Judgment Night versus Empire Records.
I'm going to have to pick Judgment Night because I'm not familiar with Empire Records.
All right. Dazed and Confused versus Purple Rain.
Can't beat Purple Rain with Dazed and Confused. It can't be done. It's impossible.
All right.
And it's important for everybody to know that the list that I'm picking here, I'm answering this. This is forever. Nobody can argue this. This is the new canonical list of best soundtracks. It's my way or the fucking highway.
The real list will be done by our voting, which begins very soon.
Well,
By our group, by the Deluxe Edition, a classic pop culture Facebook group.
Thanks for neutering my little power trip there, man.
Number 5 versus number 12. Back to the Future versus Airheads.
I don't remember Airheads really being a soundtrack that people talked about. Back to the Future was one that I cared about. So for that reason, it gets my vote.
All right. Let's see. Top Gun versus That Thing You Do.
Top Gun. Yeah, it's got to be Top Gun. Again, maybe it's just probably a great soundtrack, but I'm just not familiar with That Thing You Do soundtrack.
And touching on Top Gun, if you haven't seen our interview with Tom Skerritt yet, make sure you check that out. It's a really good interview, and he'll be in the new Top Gun coming out very soon.
And he drops a spoiler that TMZ has yet to pick up, so go listen. You can.
Yeah, if you don't want a spoiler, don't listen to it. But it's a good one. All right, The Crow versus Forrest Gump.
All right. Even though the sales for Forrest Gump are probably far better, The Crow was original content created, maybe not necessarily for The Crow, but around that period of The Crow, and The Crow was huge. Like, to me, this is another one of those things. I'm going to say it to you. I've never had to say it. You don't remember how big The Crow was? I mean, you must have just missed it. Yeah. You must have just hit the age and didn't even pay attention to it. You were with Transformers for a day too long because The Crow was massive.
I do remember The Crow. I do remember The Crow being massive, but only because I was little, but I remember because of Brandon Lee being killed.
Well, I mean, it was that, but it was the movie was great. The songs were great. I mean, it was a great movie. That gets my vote. The Crow.
Going back to what we talked about earlier, was The Crow originally a comic book?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And was it a Marvel comic book?
No, it wasn't a mainstream. It wasn't a DC or Marvel. It was one of those smaller publishers.
Okay. All right. That ties into what you said about the Ghost Rider. I guess that's maybe why they threw that Ghost Rider reference in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to listen.
All right.
I don't even think it was meant to be like, hey, this is a song about Ghost Rider. It's just like I said earlier, it's just a reference.
Oh, okay.
That's what I remember it being.
Sure. All right, moving on. Footloose versus Trick or Treat.
Oh, all right. Footloose is going to get this one. It is the better soundtrack. I love the Fastway album, but no, it's going to be Footloose.
All right. Guardians of the Galaxy versus Singles.
Singles.
Singles. For you?
Again, yeah, for the same reason I mentioned before. New music.
Yeah.
It made the movie. The movie was already huge, but with the audio being added to it and being huge, it made it such a bigger thing. Bridget Fonda was in that movie. She was the best. Bridget Fonda was only in a couple movies like Single White Female and Singles, and then all of a sudden she vanished. I don't know where she went. She was really good in that movie.
All right, last one. Pulp Fiction versus Dirty Dancing.
Oh, man. For people in the 90s, it's Pulp Fiction. For people in the 80s, it's Dirty Dancing. So I'm going to go with my age, and I'm going to pick Dirty Dancing, and that's a hard one.
All right. What you said earlier about the movies that you picked on here.
Yeah.
You picked based on the fact that the songs were new to you, that you hadn't maybe heard them before, right? And they went with the movie.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying? Is that kind of what you're...
I think you're calling me out on it. I think I favor like new songs that come out with new movies. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's part of the experience for me. The soundtrack was exciting because it was new stuff. Yeah, I guess I never got into soundtracks that were just like best of collections. Right. Here's another example. Yeah. Like I remember when the Doors movie came out. I was in junior high, and the Doors suddenly, to a bunch of kids who were, how old were we, 13, 14? Like we didn't know the Doors. So when the movie came out and the soundtrack came out, everybody had a Doors shirt, a Doors this, a Doors that. I didn't. I was like, it's not new. Like I don't care. I can go buy a Doors album and listen to that. Yeah. So I guess I've always been more interested in new songs that at least seem to be written for the movie to create a bigger movie experience.
Yeah. See, now I'm the opposite. I remember when that Doors movie came out, and I was, holy shit, the fucking Doors. Like I fucking dug deep into the Doors. I had all their shit, and then like again with this list, I'm the opposite. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you really like songs from a movie. I really like the soundtracks that are on like in those period pieces, like Dazed and Confused, where it's the music from the 70s, from that, like to me that goes with the movie, like that. Really,
I get it. Like
I wouldn't be able to tell you original songs or different, like a song wouldn't stick out to me, I don't think, or in the past it hasn't stuck out to me because of just being an original song in a movie that I haven't heard before.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, we're definitely different there. Like Man in the Mask, the Alice Cooper song that was with the one of the Jason movies, like I heard it in the movie. I was like, I got to find that song. I got to figure out who it was. Oh, wow, it's this guy Alice Cooper. I heard of him. I go down rabbit holes. It's a lot easier now with the internet, but it was a challenge back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's just run down through this list. So Judgment Night versus Dazed and Confused.
I'm going to have to go with Judgment Night.
All right. Back to the Future and That Thing You Do.
I'm going to have to go with Back to the Future.
No, I'm sorry. Back to the Future and Top Gun.
What were the songs on Top Gun again? You got that handy?
Oh, fuck.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm going to go on this one based on what I remember the popularity being, and I think Top Gun was a bigger album because of that Danger Zone.
Yeah, Danger Zone. Yeah. All right, Top Gun. All right, The Crow versus Footloose.
That's a tough one because it's the same thing as before. The 80s kids are going to say this, the 90s kids are going to say that. I think The Crow might have been bigger. The Crow album was huge. Maybe the Footloose album was huge and I just didn't realize it, but the Crow album was huge. We're going to go with Crow.
Okay. Did I ever tell you, it's not my Kevin Bacon story. It's my friend Dan's Kevin Bacon story. He had an opportunity to meet him in a backstage thing, and you've been there. It's a very quick thing. You get to say something, you shake their hand and move along. And he shook Kevin Bacon's hand. He said, "I just want to thank you for Footloose and Tremors," and walked away.
Meanwhile, he's like, "Wait a minute, man. You didn't like The Invisible Man?"
All right, Singles versus Dirty Dancing.
Oh shit, man! See, now I'm in this scenario for a third time. All right, Singles was massive. You don't remember it. Dirty Dancing, that was even bigger. That was definitely bigger. It's got to go with Dirty Dancing.
All right. What I like about these lists, though, Bill, is I do go back and I've been watching a lot of the stuff that I haven't seen in the past that was on our that has been on our lists. Like I called you the other day. I'm like, how the fuck did Dawn of the Dead make our list? Like make that list? Like that's not a great horror movie. And you were like, well, yeah, but it was the first one. Like it's the first one that did that shit. I'm like, oh, well, if you look at it like that, yeah, okay, you know. So yeah,
it's got a whole subtext. It's about consumerism and like gross American consumerism. Like there's a subtext. It's a smarter movie. I tried to tell my son that one time because he's like, "Dan, you like all these zombie movies?" I'm like, but sometimes they're smart like this. And he goes, "I don't believe you." He refuses to believe that like there's a like if I told him Wizard of Oz was really about politics and it was all like symbolism for politics, he'd never believe me. Yeah.
All right, final four. Judgment Night versus Top Gun.
All right. Judgment Night.
Judgment Night.
You know what? I'm going to take that back. I'm flip-flopping on my criteria. It's a game. There's no rules. Who cares? But I'm going to go with Top Gun because I think Top Gun, that had more impact. I think Judgment Night is, didn't you say it earlier? Like for the people that know about it, it's huge, but not everybody knew about it. So I have to demote them for that. It's going to go with the other.
You know what? You're moving into the danger zone. The Crow versus Dirty Dancing.
I hate this game. Can we stop doing these games? Dirty Dancing, I think, Dirty Dancing is going to be one of the top 3, if not top 2.
Double D.
It was that big. Double D was that big.
Final. Top Gun versus Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, it's going to be Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing. Don't even need a drum roll. Saw it coming a mile away.
All right.
Dirty Dancing. I'd love to go through the list of movies that, or soundtracks rather, that we did not get to put on that list as I drop my earphones out of my ear. All right. So when you give me this list, we've talked about this before. I do the Excel work. Casey puts it together. I squint so I don't see it. Like I just let the Excel pivot tables do all this. All right, so now, but I did get to see a couple, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm going to cherry pick through here. These, because a lot of these are soundtracks. I'm shocked that anybody thought was a good soundtrack, or sometimes I didn't even know they had a soundtrack, and people are like, yeah, that's my favorite soundtrack. All right, so that's what you're listening for here. Most of these, most of these we talked about, but Grease, Grease, that was huge. Why didn't that get more votes?
Yeah, that was close. That was a close one that was in the top 20 for sure.
Oh, yeah. Firebirds. Don't remember that movie. Yeah, Iron Eagle. That had a soundtrack?
Well, doesn't every movie have a soundtrack? Even though it may not be released, every movie has to have some type of soundtrack. Like there has to be sound there.
You're wrestling with semantics here. All right. You know what I mean? Iron Eagle, Last Action Hero. That was actually a big soundtrack. The movie was kind of a dud, but it was also in that same period of, grunge is coming in. So it helped introduce grunge. Rocky 4. I remember the Rocky 4 soundtrack. Living in America. The Big Chill, The Last Dragon, The Lost Boys. Oh, remember this big song for The Lost? Oh, you don't know The Lost Boys?
I did finally watch The Lost Boys. Yeah, great movie. Yeah. I did watch it. I don't remember the song though. It didn't stick out to me.
Cry, little children, something like that. Children.
That goes back to what we were just talking about. Was that a song written for that movie?
I always assumed it was. And it's such a great song, and I love it because of the movie, and I love the movie because of the song. Yeah. Spice World. I love that somebody put that in there. Alien, Almost Famous.
Almost Famous is a great movie. I was just talking about that with someone else the other day.
I'm pretty sure people are trolling us. Moulin Rouge. Okay, I remember that. I loved Moulin Rouge. Secret Confession. Moulin Rouge is a great movie and a great soundtrack.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, and it's when it's like Ewan McGregor's singing in it, and Nicole Kidman is singing in it, and the actors are actually doing their own parts, and they always try to do that now, and it almost sometimes never works, but it worked with them. They're great singers. I like them singing together. Ghostbusters, Godzilla, Goonies. What's this? Hemorrhized. I don't know. That's not real. Somebody's got a hemorrhoid. High Fidelity, Highlander, I Am Sam, Jaws, Juice, Karate Kid. Okay. La Bamba. Yeah, La Bamba was a big song when that came out.
That's a good one.
When that came out, you couldn't stop hearing La Bamba. It was everywhere.
Los Lobos does that song in there on that, right?
Yeah. Like, here's one, Mannequin. Who had the Mannequin soundtrack? I didn't even know there was one. Love Actually, Lost Highway, Maximum Overdrive, right? They had an AC/DC song. Who made you? Who made you?
You have to be careful when you do that.
Yeah, we got copyright strikes all over. Repo Man, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Rad, Queen of the Damned, Pump Up the Volume. I guarantee my friend Michelle put that in there. I mean, yeah. Christian Slater, if you're listening, you do have a stalker out there. Just want you to know, you got to watch out for my friend Michelle. Suburbia, Superman, The Boat That Rocked. There's not a movie called The Boat That Rocked, is there? Yeah, so some of these are interesting. The Wild Life. I remember that. That was an 80s movie. I remember like Eddie Van Halen had something to do with the soundtrack. The Wraith, Walk the Line. Okay, that was the country singer.
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Where Eagles Dare. I'm not familiar with that. And yeah, all right. Well, the 5 heartbeats. Interesting list. I'm gonna have to listen to all these.
We have an eclectic group of characters over on our Facebook group. The lists that we get from that group is always so great. There were I forget, there were over 90 comments on this particular bracket game, and we got some of those ones you mentioned there are quite interesting.
I mean, there's still some I couldn't name. We'll be here all day.
All right, Bill, that's going to wrap us up. Make sure you head over to our Facebook group. Like I mentioned before, fill out the bracket. And when you go to the bracket link, it will look like this. And you can click on each one and fill those out. And then take a screenshot of it and then post it in our group in the comments of the post. And then voting will begin this week, and you can win those prizes: the Darcy the Mail Girl figure, Elvira keychain, and a T-shirt of your size. I will order for you and send directly to your house.
He'll even wear it once, so it'll smell like him.
No, it will be coming directly from whatamaneuver.net/collections/deluxe edition. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Deluxe Edition Pod. We are on the Den, the Deluxe Edition Network. Herman James, The Rant with Herman James is our podcast of the month. And you can find all of our back shows at deluxeedition.show.